What's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room. And this is where we at now. So the situation with Chicago seems to be an ongoing thing. The politicians and everybody there doesn't want Trump to come in and, with the National Guard and try to, kind of smooth things out, give a presence of police force basically and stuff like that, even though that the police force of Chicago is down some 2,000 individuals that need to be hired to be, patrolling the area, patrolling the city, things like that. The budget is crazy. They're not using the money to actually, provide the proper policing to keep the citizens safe. They've got rid of Shot Spotter and things like that a couple of years ago, actually. And these were the tools that were at hand to keep the city at least trying to move forward to, have safety within the city. But this is where we at here. So I'm gonna start off with this one. So this just in a day ago. So saying yesterday, maybe day before yesterday. A jewelry store was broken into, and then we're going to go into what Trump just posted on Twitter and Truth Social about the Department of War. Yeah, he took on the old school name of what the Department of Defense used to be named. It used to be called the Department of War. A lot of y'all people don't know that, but research your history, you'll find out. So let's go here now. Quarters, nickels, and dimes, people.
New video shows a frightening scene on Michigan Avenue in broad daylight as people were leaving work.
A robbery crew using axes to smash their windows at the Rolex store and steal watches.
Our Marissa Sulik just spoke with the alderman in the area and has some new developments to share. Marissa?
Joe and Eric, as you can see behind me, the windows are all boarded up here at the Rolex store after what took place. This happened around 2:30 this afternoon as people were walking by, some capturing this all on their phones.
Robbers seen using axes to smash through the side window and display case on East Huron. They then reach in and grab a couple watches before they run off. Some watches seen left dangling from the window.
I don't think Rolex thought could be broken. They found out the hard way. If you've got enough leverage on a hatchet, you could break through.
Alderman Brian Hopkins says he does not recall a smash and grab like this in the middle of the afternoon when the streets are filled with tourists and shoppers. Chicago police say 4 men in masks broke the glass.
This was a successful robbery. They have recounted. They are missing watches. This was successful.
The robbers fled in a red Nissan Murano and sent police on a chase down the Dan Ryan. They then crashed the SUV into a parked car near 69th and Peoria in the Englewood neighborhood. Police scanner traffic says the men were seen throwing items out the windows, presumably watches.
Honestly, it's sad.
Lamont Evans is with the Restorative Project, a group that responds to violence in the community. We talked to him about how this happened as President Trump is threatening to bring the National Guard to Chicago.
If we bring more resources to the community, more jobs, more federal funding, then maybe we wouldn't have to deal with the backlash of things like this.
We were able to.
How is that possible? Listen, look, more jobs, more federal funding. Obviously, these young men don't want jobs.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
The money ain't coming fast enough. See, we have to understand the mindset of the generation now. These young men that probably broke into this store right here, they probably early 20s, late teens, early 20s. Okay. Them young men definitely probably growing up and things like that, their home structure things and other stuff. They haven't been trained or taught to go out and be decent citizens and go out and seek jobs and legal employment and stuff like that. That's the reason why they're smashing and grabbing and shit. They grew up in a household that doesn't care about anything, and it shows right there from the actions that they're doing. Broad open daylight, you're going to smash and grab, even though you're wearing masks and things like that, and they're not stupid. They wore the mask because they know there's cameras every fucking where. But the thing of this is yes, this is crazy right here. The funding is not going to help. Proper policing is going to help. The knowledge that that you're going to have a barrier there that you're going to have to overcome. That's going to be a dangerous barrier. You know, for the idiots, it's going to be a dangerous barrier that they're going to have to overcome in order to achieve the criminal goal that they have set in their mind. You know, funding and stuff like that. I get it. You know, of course that's needed as well. But the thing of this is nobody's going to keep funding, you know, programs and housing and all this other type of stuff. That's not the issue. That's not the damn problem. It's the rearing of these young people's mindset that's the issue. And, you know, you have to correct that in order to get a stable society, or you have to lock these bats the fuck up and send a message. A message that the city would not tolerate being plundered and pillaged at will.
To arrest these 6 offenders, I'm not sure what the National Guard could have done.
Tonight, police were seen collecting evidence outside the Rolex store as they continued their investigation. People walking by in shock by the debris and scene left behind. In the end, Chicago police say 6 men were arrested. Chicago police say there were no injuries reported. Alderman Hopkins says that 9 watches were recovered from that scene in Englewood, but the Rolex store is doing their own inventory check to see if more watches might be out there. Alderman Hopkins also says that Chicago police used one of their new helicopters to track that car down during the chase. We're live in the Gold Coast. Marissa Sue.
Okay, so at least these idiots were caught. Thank God. Thank God. And I also want to say this too. You know, the reason why they were so fired up in catching these individuals is that they're trying to prove to the rest of us out here. Pay attention now. Pay attention. They're trying to prove to the rest of everybody online out here, even the citizens of Chicago, that, you know, the police out there actually doing their jobs, fighting crime and stuff like that. But I mean, you know, we all know what happened over the Labor Day weekend with all those people that were injured and the few people that actually lost their lives and stuff like that. Where were the police at then? See, this is the task at hand here. They're going to have to, you know what I'm saying, do a little something in order to make it seem like they're actually fighting crime. And this is where we at right here. So they did catch these fools. Thank God they caught them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Lock their ass up, get rid of them. You know what I'm saying? Put their ass up under the jail. So we're going to go here now. And we're going to check out the situation because Trump is serious. Chicago needs to be cleaned up. And Chicago, like I said in a previous broadcast, Chicago has always been a gangster town. You know, since Chicago's almost founded. Chicago has always been a gangster town. And these are the issues that Chicago has been facing for decades. Let's go here now.
And the war of words between President Trump and Illinois leaders heating up. The president posting an AI-generated image of himself, saying Chicago is about to find out why it's called the Department of War. Both the governor and the mayor say they are preparing for increased operations and the potential deployment of the National Guard. Correspondent Hannah Brandt is live in D.C. with the very latest from the White House. Hannah, good evening.
Kelly, good evening. This is a story we've been tracking for a while now because President Trump has been suggesting the names of other cities. He says he does know what cities he's sending the National Guard to next, but he isn't publicly sharing that information. The Truth Social post President Trump shared today about Chicago is sparking a lot of questions and some controversy. For weeks now, the president has been saying he thinks crime in Chicago is out of control, and his newest post suggests Chicago could be the next city he deploys troops to. The governor of Illinois certainly paying attention to that possibility. Responding to President Trump's post, writing, "The president of the United States is threatening to go to war with an American city. This is not a joke. This is not normal." A military official tells News Nation the National Guard has not received any new orders to deploy to an additional location. But a source says the Army is extending its military orders for the National Guard troops currently in D.C. They were originally only supposed to be deployed in the capital city for 30 days, but will now stay in D.C. on active duty through November 30th. It's an effort the Trump administration argues is having an impact on crime. Attorney General Pam Bondi providing this update on the latest numbers, saying the D.C. operation has led to a total of 1,989 arrests and more than 200 gun seizures. And as President Trump continues to say he's made D.C. a crime-free zone, he's been throwing out names of other U.S. cities he says he'd also like to send federal forces to.
We're going to come into New Orleans and we're going to make that place so safe. It's got a little problem right now, a couple of headaches like murders, a lot of little murders going on, and we're not going to stand for it. And we're going to come in, we're going to clean it up. You're going to be safe within 2 weeks. That's going to be the safest place, just like this is the safest place. And then we'll be going elsewhere throughout the country. We're going to bring crime down.
Amid this crime crackdown using...
Listen, look, I'm all for it. I'm all for bringing crime down. You know what I'm saying? Because when I go out and shop and do all the things like that I want to do, or I go visit New Orleans, stuff like that, and I've been in New Orleans plenty of times, and yes, it's always this lingering thought process in the back of your mind that you got to super watch your back and stuff like that in New Orleans. So we all know what happened in New Orleans, a few years ago, where they, the dude drove the truck through the, through the barrier, ran into people, stuff like that, then deleted itself. We all remember that. Hopefully y'all remember stuff out here, because y'all gotta start having long memories, people. This is crazy.
And what the French toast is there to think about?
This is crazy. Y'all gotta start having long memories, man. And if there were actually enough law enforcement in place, things like that would have been staved off before they even happened, because it would have been so much of a barrier for idiots like that to get through. He wouldn't have been able to do all that in New Orleans. This is crazy.
U.S. troops, President Trump is also making a big change to the agency they operate under. In an executive order last night, President Trump rebranded the Department of Defense, changing it to the Department of War. He says the move is meant to pull back from progressive ideology and send a message about American strength.
Really, it has to do with winning. We should have won every war. We could have won every war, but we really chose to be very politically correct or wokey. I think the Department of War sends a signal.
Almost immediately, the Pentagon website changed from defense.gov to war.gov, and signs were swapped out at Secretary Pete Hegseth's office, who President Trump is now calling the Secretary of War.
War means something. It means we're not going to have any problems.
A permanent name change for the department will still require an act of Congress. Some lawmakers closely aligned with President Trump have already proposed legislation to do just that. Kelly?
Yeah, we'll stay tuned on this one. All right, Hannah Brandt, thank you.
All right, that's where we at.
And what the French toast is there to think about?
That's where we at on that fact. You know what I'm saying? Yes, listen, look, the politicians in Chicago still do not want, Trump coming in and, doing what he's supposed to do and clearing up these situations, adding on extra law enforcement, because that's basically what that is, adding on extra law enforcement. Because listen, look, this is the thing here. They're talking about, they want Trump to give them the funding. Well, just give us the money. Just give us the money. Y'all been getting the money for decades now, and y'all still are lacking with your law enforcement. Your cities are still in shambles and things like that. What y'all been doing with all this money? Oh, we know what y'all been doing with this money. It's not actually hiring more law enforcement. It's not actually hiring for the tangible positions that you need to hire for. It's not for that, obviously, because the cities and things like that will be in a better position than they are now. And Trump wouldn't have to come in with extra law enforcement in order to make sure that these cities get cleared up. And bats like these young cats won't be breaking in fucking Rolex stores in the middle of the fucking day.
And what the French toast is
The
gonna
hell
think
you
about.
talking about? But it is what it is, though. Shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.
that, my friends, is the bottom line.